Hey, I'm going to show you how to use RemADE today. This is our new agentic development environment. It extends from the old integrated development environments we used to use as programmers. So first of all, when you launch it up, you get this splash screen, and when you're using it for the first time, you won't have any projects in the list. So what you do, to add a new project, you go open project folder. You can also paste in a path to a folder or an SSH URL or even a GitHub repository. So I'm going to open a project folder. We're going to create something new right now. And I'm going to go into demo, and I'm just going to create a new demo app. App 1. Open that. So this is an empty project. And you can see there's only RemADE's own settings folder in here. Where we're going to spend most of our time is in these terminals. These terminals are where we run our agents and access most of our project. I can add new terminals with this plus button. I can also do Command N. I can add as many terminals as I want. You can see I'm horizontally scrolling on my trackpad to navigate between these. And when I click on one, it becomes focused. I can also move these up or down. I can rescale them. If I want them all to be this size by default, I can right-click, apply size to all. And now when I click on them, they will become that size. So let me run Claude in one of these. I'm going to trust that folder, and I don't know what we should have it build, so I'm going to have it build something cool. Could you build something cool with WebGL and Vite? Vite is a Node.js framework, and we'll let it set off to work on that. I'm actually going to switch to, no, I'll leave that on. I think we'll be okay. And that's going to go off to work. I could run other agents in these. For example, I could run cursor agent. That's going to start up. I could run Gemini. Don't know if my Gemini subscription is active. Trust that folder in cursor. Trust this folder in Gemini. Just say hello. Okay, Gemini is thinking. And this brings up one of the core important features of RemADE, which is when one of our agents finishes, we get this little notification badge. If the agent has a question, it will be a little yellow question mark. You can see up in the header, we have all our open projects. We'll get into that later, but you can see when there is a notification, it will show up as a little badge on that project. So to switch projects, you can either click on the project in the header here, or if you're familiar with Mac OS's Command tab, Quick Application Switcher, we now have Option tab for quick project switching. So I'm going to switch over to CodeMonkey folder, which was the original code name for RemADE. And this is a much bigger project, obviously, and it has a bunch of terminals all active at once. You can see I have many terminals I've been using. Sometimes you'll add a bunch more. Sometimes you'll go through and delete a bunch of them. I could add a couple more terminals here. If I decide I don't need a terminal, I can either click this X button to close it, or I can hover it, and you can see it has a green halo around it. Shortcuts go to the item that is the input target, which is signified by the green halo. So you can see as I hover my mouse over these, I can type into each of these terminals separately without clicking into them. But I don't need this one, so I'm going to do Command W, which is the shortcut to close. That came from over here. Demo app. I'm going to switch back to demo app, and I can see it seems to be done. I'm going to go over to the changes view to, since this is all new, it'll all be new. I'm going to initialize a GitHub repository in here, and now I can browse the changes. If I switch up to this changes view in editor, you'll see there was no code previously, so it's all new code. I can toggle through all these current files. Let me show you over in CodeMonkey or RemADE what a change looks like. So if I go on, say, this file tree, switch over to changes, you can see when I've removed code or added code, I can see all of that in my Project Explorer when it's in Changes view. If I switch to Files mode, I just see the files. But in Changes, I see all the changes that have taken place since I made the last commit. Let's go back to our demo app. Let's try running it. show you the run bar here. Switch back to my files right now. And RemADE has automatically detected that this is a Node.js project now that Claude made. And we now have a play button. So I'll click that. Sometimes if you're not sure if it's going to work or if it doesn't work, you'll use this Run with AI Assistant that'll ask Claude to run it so Claude can debug it as you go. Actually, let's do that right now. So I'm going to have to select, if I haven't yet selected my default agent, I'll select Claude there. Make this a little bigger so we can see what it's doing. It's just running npm run dev. You can configure these manually as to what you want it to run if you use these manual plain stop buttons, but it's often nice just to have Claude do it for you, because if a bug comes up, it'll be able to automatically fix it. So now that I have this running, there's a server running on my local computer at this URL. I can click on this, and I could just open it, or I could also open it and make it the default URL for this project. I can also select which web browser on my system I want it to open in, let's say Safari, and I'm going to go open and make default. And this way, when I come back to this in the future, where I can really quickly get to that tab. Now that is really cool. I like that a lot. Wow, and it's interacting with my mouse. Way to go, Claude. You definitely made something cool. I hope this is coming through on the video capture as cool as it is on my screen, because I love particle effects. Spent a lot of time manually writing particle effects. Now I don't have to anymore. Okay, so you can see I have a whole bunch of tabs. And let's say this was buried somewhere among all those tabs. I created a new tab over here. I've been working for a while. I come back to RemADE, and I want to see my app again. So to do that, I can either just click on this browser button where I can configure the default URL in browser, or I can just use the shortcut Command L. And Command L brings me right back to the tab where this was running in. Let's look at the Git tree. So this project here doesn't yet have any commits. Yep. But let's look at one that does have commits. If you're familiar with Git, it's a way of tracking different versions and branches of your application so that you can go back or that you can merge between different people working on it. So open code is a big project with lots of developers and lots in progress. And you can see this little Git tree button here at the top. This lets you open this, and as I scroll through, you can see it computing out the Git tree. This one has a lot of lanes and a lot of channels in parallel. And it's a complex process to go through and figure out which branches and commits are grouped together. So that's why you can see it change a little bit as we can scroll. You can see a whole bunch of pull requests were merged here. That's cool. You can also double click on one of these. Let's see what might be interesting. Let's check this hardened cache usage, see what they were doing. That's just a change to their action YAML file. You can see the change here. Let's look at these others. That's just not really code. I want to see some code. Here's a couple TypeScript files. You can browse through those. If you're just browsing up through these, you can use the arrow keys. When you go up past the last one, it'll continue on to the next commit. So you can just keep browsing the file changes that have happened in sequence. If you hover over the name, you can see the name of the person who and the git hash for that commit. And lastly, you have this appearance button up here in the very upper right, and you can select the brightness of the backdrop of your panels. Usually keep it kind of dark so that the light text stands out, but you can also change the background. So make this brighter to illustrate, but you can set any color for the backdrop of your window tint and panels. I change this from time to time with my environment. You can also set the opacity of the panel if you want to see the background really clearly. It also makes it harder to read your text sometimes, but it can be nice to see what's going on in the background, and you can also change the blur. So if you had other windows behind this is, or your backdrop, this is how much it is blurred. All right, and then last, but certainly not least, is the feedback pop-up. So this lets you send me bugs or feature requests or ideas so that we can make RemADE better. Add new feature.